So we can get started.
Yeah. Well, welcome, John McCall. As you and your wife and your three kids are in Colombia and Medellin, you've just arrived recently and you've gotten settled. So I just wanted to ask you a few simple questions about your life so far there. Um,
Absolutely.
what do you think, as your three kids, Annelise, Caleb, and Benjamin, uh, what do your kids think is the most interesting part about life in Colombia?
Yep. So we arrived here December 14th, right before the holidays. And so our kids had to be very patient as we were looking for a house. The housing market here in this area is pretty slim because due to the pandemic, a lot of people have moved out of Medellin, which is about 45 minutes from where we are, to Rio Negro, which is like 2 miles from where we are. And just so people have more space, they're not Medellin Valley's got 3 million people in a pretty long, narrow valley where it's landlocked. So we moved to 3 different Airbnbs before we finally were able to move into a long-term rental. So we moved into this house we're in now, which is the long-term, on January 20th. So we're still getting set up. Yeah, the kids each like different things about living here in Colombia. For our oldest, Annalise, she's our 14-year-old daughter. She really likes the malls here. The malls are probably a little more like what the malls used to be like in the 90s
Mm.
in the US. They're happening places. There's a lot of restaurants. It's just lively. They're also open air. A lot of some of the walls are torn out because the temperatures pretty much the same year round. Here in Rio Negro, where we are, is at 7,000 feet. So it's in the 70s every day. So they don't need to run air conditioning. So the malls have a really cool atmosphere, and also due to her age, that's a fun place to go to see other people watch, see the stores, look around. Um, for our 12-year-old son, Caleb, he likes the outdoor space around our house. We don't have a big piece of land, but we have really nice views from where we are. And so there's some green space around it. And for him, that's been really helpful just to recharge. He's had a tough time with the online school.
Hmm.
He's on the autism spectrum, and he's having to do a lot of learning about politics and government and civics, things that he's really not interested in. His brain is more math science oriented. And so it's taken him a lot longer to do schoolwork, and my wife Lorena's had to help him a lot, but he gets about a nice 5-10 minute break every hour, and he goes outside and just sits on the bench and looks at the view. And so that's his favorite part. And then our son Benjamin really likes, he's made a friend about 100 yards down the street from where we live, is a 12-year-old boy named Marcus, who's Colombian. And Marcus speaks just a little bit of English. He can understand a little bit, but it's just enough too. And Benjamin's trying to learn Spanish, but they play very well together, just as kids so can easily do that. Even when there's a language barrier, they can just get into different activities together and goof off. And so that's been Benjamin's favorite part.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. That they're going to be tremendous partners in ministry in their own ways. So it's
Right.
very interesting to hear about their experiences. Um, so I've got to ask you also, what was your biggest cultural misunderstanding so far?
We've had quite a few driving around. When we go to Medellin, there's the traffic is pretty intense, and there's also a lot of one-way streets in places. So we've driven the wrong way down one-way streets before, and then it stopped like right in front of a bus that's trying to go the correct way and had to turn around in a 12-point turn and get out of there. And we've driven in the bus lane before. One thing too that's different is the stoplights here. You don't see the stoplight out in front of you across the intersection to watch. The light's like right over your head when you pull up to the line. So you're looking at the post to your right that also has a stoplight on it, but it's also got the walking lights as well for the pedestrians to walk across. So when we first got here in our rental car, we're driving, we were looking, the pedestrian walk is green, and they get to walk before the light turns green, but we just ran the red light because
Oh,
we thought it was our turn to go, and I realized nobody else was going. And you also can't turn right on red lights here like you can in the US, so that I'm sure we made a few right turns on red lights when we were first learning. So the traffic rules is one for sure that we've made a number of mistakes on.
Okay, well, glad you're safe.
Yeah, same here. Thanks.
So on the flip side of the coin, what would you say has been your best cultural or linguistic connection with someone in Colombia so far?
Mhm. I think the best for me has been with a neighbor that's down the street. He does a lot of the maintenance on the house. The house we're in was renovated. It was in need of repair, and we moved in after a lot of that work was done. But he's installed like security cameras on the post out front, and he's brought us water. We can't drink the water out of the faucets here, so when they had to do some maintenance on the big water container up the hill, the water tower. He brought us water, and he's been the most interested in the work we're doing. So I've gotten to talk with him about our ministry. As you probably well aware, there's a lot of cultural Catholicism in Latin America, and he's had more of an interest too in Christianity, evangelical Christianity, and so he's had a lot of questions, which has been great too. And he's really patient too with just still being a relatively new Spanish speaker as well. It's nice. The folks we live about 2 miles from Rio Negro, but we kind of where we live is sort of getting out into farm country. So people here just outside of the city like to talk for a little longer, don't seem to have to run to the next thing. And so that's been good. We feel like the relationships we have built in and around our house, we've been able to go a little bit deeper than maybe some of the encounters we have in the city. So,
Excellent. Well, that's
yeah.
very encouraging. We're praying for those connections to multiply.
Thank you.
And along that line, you've taken a lot of language courses recently over the past year. So what was it like being in an intensive language school?
It was kind of a whirlwind. I mean, we were in Costa Rica in the capital, San Jose, for a year. We arrived in fall 2019 and finished up in early fall 2020. As you're well aware, things drastically changed in spring of 2020 with the pandemic. So we were about the midpoint of our language learning when that happened. To speak to that first half, because the first half was pretty different than the second half due to those reasons. One thing I liked the most was there was very international feel to it, not just with Americans and Latinos, but also with Koreans. There were a lot of Asians that had come as well as missionaries. And so it was neat to be in classes with those other students. And as you're starting out, you can't communicate at all if they don't know any English. And so there were Koreans that we built friendships with, that as we were both learning Spanish and can communicate in Spanish, we were able to build those friendships. So we enjoyed going out to lunch with some of those people and getting to know them. That was an unexpected aspect of being part of language school. We didn't have a car the whole year we were there. So a lot of the places we would go were the places we could walk to nearby in terms of the day-to-day. And so we would have park day down the street on Wednesday afternoons. We'd play ultimate frisbee. All the kids would do the playground stuff. Parents would get to talk. It was a nice study break. So that was another thing we enjoyed. And then when the pandemic started, the school that the kids were part of, the language school, has their own school for the kids that also has a lot of Costa Ricans. It's actually mostly Costa Rican students, but a number of the missionary kids go there as well. When that happened, the kids had to start doing the school virtually or homeschooling. And so that was definitely harder on a lot of the adult missionaries that were language learning, because it then meant that one of the parents had to be with the kids to teach the kids. And so for me and Lorena, my wife, already knew quite a bit of Spanish. She lived in Costa Rica when she was a teenager. And so she was already somewhat bilingual coming to Costa Rica. So she fortunately was able to take most of the workload with the kids and allow me to continue my Spanish learning online. And so that was a big help. But one thing I missed with the shift of this not being able to go to attend classes in person at the institution was also wasn't able to do a lot of the street interaction conversations with the Costa Ricans. I had to do mostly, book study and practice presentations online and stuff like that. So that part was something I missed. I would have liked to have been able to continue to build those relationships with Costa Ricans. And once I knew enough Spanish to start those conversations and continue those.
Very good. And I'm glad to see that you have really mastered a lot of the language, although that's certainly a lifetime of learning as well. So
Right.
quite a lot
Yeah.
of effort.
Okay, poco a poco, little by little.
Yes.
Look back at where you were months ago and see I have made a little more progress. So it is good to see progress.
Praise the Lord. Well, John, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing these brief glimpses into your ministry. We'll
Happy
be
to do
praying
it.
for you.
Thanks for inviting me to speak about them. I appreciate the time with you this morning.
Thank you.